many people are going to be able to play, or what kind of people we're going to play.
Precisely, yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
And guys, please understand that we are looking to reinvest as much money into the players as possible. I mean, we understand that the players mean so much, and that's why we have, you know, money on the line for every single one of these matches, not only in the Gauntlet, but our regular seasons. We have all paid expenses to the finals, different things like that. We support the players, and we're trying to, you know, alleviate the teams as much as possible so they can actually focus on giving their players salary, etc. This is what we're talking about. We reinvest it into the players, into the scene, and try to grow it as much as possible. We do that in Season 3. We're going to do it again in Season 4.
All right, let's go ahead and introduce our players. Starting in the bottom left, from Team Western Wolves, we have Miniraser, Grandmaster Zerg, who's just pretty good. He's pretty good.
Not bad.
I just think EU Zergs in general are very underrated. Nerd Chio comes to mind. Well, not underrated, but like they're very good in comparison to the global scene. Slivko, another player that's really good in the top right corner from Rock's Kiss. Is another example. You know, Slivko is really good, just playing really solidly. I remember watching his games in Home Story Cut where he did lose ZVZ to Golden ultimately, but showed a lot of great decision making. Of course, part of the reason why he lost is because Golden's micro is very good and his execution is flawless. Plus, Golden does have some pretty sick builds in the matchup.
Oh, yes.
So you can't really fault him for that. But Slivko overall, a pretty good Zerg. I think people were kind of calling him a patch Zerg, but I disagree. Slivko is really talented.
Definitely disagree. He was alive much before the patch, in my opinion. He was actually in the NASL Open for season number 2, where he showed amazing skills. So I completely disagree with the patch Zerg. And actually, there was an article.
If you call him a patch Zerg, he'll just beat you up.
there was an article that was talking about all these quote-unquote patch Zergs and statistically proving. I shouldn't say proving, but statistically showing that their differences, I guess, isn't that extreme. It's within reason, I think.
Yeah, like 5% increase in wins is good. No one's gonna say that's bad, especially if it edges you over to the winning side. Like if you're below 50% to over 50%. But 5% is also pretty actually statistically negligible.
Yeah, but they did have like it was like 15%. Some swings were like 15%, which is quite substantial. Yeah, that is substantial. But you have to realize like it's going towards their. Some of them they lost out in TVZ. Some of them really went ahead in TVZ, and same thing with ZVP. Some of them they were winning in ZVP. Some of them they were losing in ZVP after the patch. And what that shows to me is that it's just their styles, and it's changed their styles a little bit, but overall they've kept within reason, in my opinion, of their winning percentages. I don't know. That's just how I feel. It's very subjective. Statistics is very subjective. Like, it's actually...
As much as they try to make it a science.
Yeah, like it is so freaking subjective. I don't want to actually give it too much because the sample sets are super tiny. They're not independent. There's so many problems with actually pulling these statistics that you can't actually substantiate any claims.
One thing that is not as subjective and pretty more concrete is just hard scouting evidence. Miniraser managed to get in, see a Baneling Nest morphing for Slivko. Now, an earlier Baneling Nest, especially based off these positions from Slivko, usually is kind of like a point of defensiveness, but you can see that Slivko, I guess it's just droning up at this point, just feeling very safe after seeing the initial scouting Zerglings. The big thing, again, is style. You can see Miniraser opted for earlier speed, but a later Baneling Nest, and Slivko opted for earlier Baneling Nest, but slower speed. It's just gas management.
I actually like going multiple queens. I'm actually surprised we don't see so many queens out on the map. Only 3 queens for Slivko. I actually prefer 4. 2 out for Miniraser. Now, the main reason why I like 4 is that you're able to spread your creep quite substantially, and any Baneling Zergling all-ins are the most hilarious things ever. You just target down all the Banelings with your queens, and literally it feels like they do no damage because queens stay alive forever with transfuse. It's just super powerful. I think it's one of the stronger things to do. I know Cats is a big proponent of getting a lot of queens. Of course, Cats is a little bit different in Zerg styles, but still both these players are doing very similar builds. Very fast Lair, though. Here's the deviation. Lair and going into Roaches. Wow, look at that.
Well, going for Lair and quad gassing could spell Mutus in this situation, or Infestors, depending on how he wants to play it out. Actually, that's kind of the deviation between your build and Mr. Bitter's build, like at that point, right? both like to go lots of lanes, but either Infest or Muta.
Yeah, I like to actually go Mutas. I think Mutas actually offer so much in terms of being able to take your third anytime you want to. Look at this, Slivko going to go Roaches and a third base. So what this tries to accomplish is just defense against all ground. You can see the evolution chamber on the way. That's to get the +1 missile attack. So what he's trying to do is just play super defensive this whole time. He has to be careful. If he overmakes Roaches, he will be in a position where he's dead because Spire Tech is on the way out, and of course that means Mutas. But the good thing is he has that Overlord in place to know the third is not coming up, and he knows that his opponent knows about this third base. And when you know your opponent knows the third base and they're not looking to take their own third base, you're saying it's either a 2-base timing with Roaches, and you need to verify that with Zerglings. If it's not that, then it's most likely, like 70% of the time, going to be some sort of mute attack, and you need to capitalize on that. Get a ton of Queens out on the field and try to defend with that and Spore Crawlers.
Yeah, if you the big thing is that Slivko didn't necessarily see the gas timings on the natural at all. That's unfortunate for him. But when he sees this many Zerglings, he has to be very suspicious. Especially the Banelings don't necessarily get a huge detonation. The Roaches do manage to reinforce just in time to disincentivize the Zerglings from surrounding any longer. But yeah, when you see no double Evo Chamber directly, that also means that he's saving his gas up for huge pools. If you go for Infestor styles, you want to get early upgrades so that your Zerglings are empowered with the Infestors. But now you can see the Zerglings from Miniraser get inside of Slivko's base and sees every single thing. Granted, he can probably pretty much suspect it with mass amount of Roaches. But that said, Slivko holds very nicely, doesn't overcommit amount of units, and has a healthy drone lead for now, because we see Miniraser getting his first few Mutos out into the field, and now the Overseer, did he catch sight of the the Spires? It did.
I do think he did.
Yes. So now he knows.
And now Roaches should go out into the middle of the field. They shouldn't actually be defensive. He should commit these to the third base or even the natural, I would say. Glitter Reconstitution is going to kick in. And with their extra +1 armor in this beginning stage, Mutas actually take a surprisingly long amount of time to actually clear any amount of Roaches up. There he goes, final. It's a little bit late, though. These should be already in the middle of the map, catching the third base out of position. That sounds so weird. Catching the Mutas out of position. I'm sorry. And that will buy enough time for Spores to come up and, of course, Queens. And there it is. The Roaches are going across the map. The Glitter Reconstitution helping out so much. And this third base under serious threat. Banelings are actually in production here.
Yeah, I guess he really wants to hold off and add a lot of splash damage. I guess it's if the Roaches clump up and the Mutas can kind of like whittle down the Roaches. As you can see right now, Miniraser just forcing Slivko back. Now, don't be deceived. Even though Slivko seems like he lost a lot of map control, when he gets Hydras out, it's going to be really hard for Miniraser to kind of poke in back and forth. But it also gets to the point where how many Hydras do you leave per base? Because if you pick off straggling ones like the ones that are currently on a rally queue, it can get kind of messy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to lose free Infestors here and there. Or sorry, free Hydras here and there.
When you see the Hydras, you instantly have to think, okay, my opponent has some sort of timing. I need to be careful about this because they can definitely hit with powerful Roach, Hydra combinations, and Queens, and just take out everything. Just kill me. So how does Miniraser actually react to this? I would actually love someone to go Burrowed Banelings. Burrowed Banelings, and then just zone out any Overseer, kill every Overseer, and make it so that Burrowed Banelings can absolutely crush any Hydralist count. One day. One day, man.
Andre, you see
I see
Banelings. We talk about Burrowed Banelings. How about just direct Banelings? Oh, Slivko senses it. That one Roach is a hero. He says, guys, there's 2 Banelings, and the drones are trying to evacuate, and they're trying to get out in time, but no damage was done, all because of that one hero Roach. Well done.
Muta's coming in, though, doing a lot of damage, but Slivko is actually maxed on Overlords. He's at 200 supply permanently, man.
Yeah, he's got 24 Overlords. That's an insane amount for this stage of the game because he's really trying to overmake them. As you can see, that Slivko has a huge bank that he would love to convert to actual units. Now starting to make Infestors and get +2. That's going to be very hard for the Mutants to engage because they have no armor or carapace upgrades, rather. And that's just going to make direct confrontation even that much more difficult. As soon as the Fungal lands, that can change everything. If you remember watching that ZVZ between Violet and Nurchio, just so devastating. The Mutal flock can keep growing, but once they get caught, that's just game over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And obviously, Infestors are on the way out to enable that. We're going to see an engagement. I don't think Miniraser should actually do this. Miniraser is really caught up in a terrible composition, though. I mean, Mutas aren't supposed to be made, I think, in this quantity. I have seen it before. It can be very powerful. Do we even have Baneling speed yet? No, we don't. Baneling speed isn't yet finished. And oh my god, Roaches.
Ooh.
Oh gosh.
Has to be very careful. Oh, the Hero Roach spots another pack of Banelings, but this is way more than he asked for. He's going straight for the Hydras. The Hydras are very vulnerable. Needs to be able to target down all the anti-air, but the Fungals are also keeping the Mutalisk in place, and it looks like Slivko will hold for now. A huge amount of supply was lost for Miniraser. He lost a lot of Banelings because they're empty supply, and the Mutalisk count is now down to just 2. And Slivko, with a really good engagement, could have gone either way, but in the end, those Fungals were super clutch.
No, coming from one angle is the wrong thing. You need to be able to actually surround your opponent when you're going to Baneling's house. Position is key. It's clutch. You need that ability for them to waste so many Fungals that your Mutas stay alive. But in that position, it's just one direction that all units are coming from. You can't have that. You cannot have that. The Mutas are clumped. There's just so many different problems with when that happens. And he lost so much supply from that that fight. There's no foreseeable way to actually stop this army. This will kill the third base.
Well, he does manage to pick up the rest of the Hydras. Oh, Slivko's defender's out of position as well. He will lose his third, just like you were saying. But, I mean, enough Mutas survive. Actually, I'm trying to think of how many. Is that enough Mutas really to hold off the rest of the Roaches? And I think it is in terms of forcing Slivko back, but this is still very significant economic damage. Oh, and Slivko so smart, rallying his reinforcement directly to the natural, realizing the Mutas can't be everywhere in terms of dealing with all the Roaches. And now this amount of Roaches, because I didn't see the reinforcement, will just kill off the rest of the economy. It doesn't even matter if you can't shoot up. You can't handle this much Roaches.
Yeah, they kill stuff so fast, and the Mutas really don't have that high of DPS. Look, there are so many out, too. 19 Mutas out in the field, and it's still not enough. Actually, more than 19, excuse me. All Miniraser has is this one last-ditch attack. He has to go in with Zerglings. He has to go in with Mutas. Everything that he has, everything's going to be rallied. And yes, there are small situations where this is going to work, but because Infestors are already out on the field, all Slivko has to do is drop back all the way to, like, 2 bases. That's it. He can give up all of his bases, drop back to 2 bases, and just absolutely crush this this Muta flock. Again, grouping up with all the Mutas, and there's the big fungal growth. He's not able to chain fungal, though, unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
But a couple of queens are going to come in here to their demise. They're going to die.
Yeah, you can see Miniraser trying to magic box his Mutas slightly to make sure that they don't clump up, but I guess at this point there's no real form of anti-air, but as long as you kind of keep the Mutalisk count in check, there's really nothing that Miniraser can do. His economy is very poor. He's double expanding. But Slivko is just running by again with more Roaches, saying, well, you know, I guess if you're attacking this much, you're trying to protect your expansions, and Slivko doing the right thing, pulling the Mutas back, buying more time for Infestors and Hydras to come out. And this is just massive, massive damage, although you can see a couple of Roaches kind of blocked by a Spinecrawler and a couple of Lings. Like, man, we just want to get in the club, man.
Heroes, absolute heroes. These Mutas will be able to do nothing this second round. I mean, Hydras, as you said, Hydras, Queens, and Infestors are out in the field, and this is just too much. The Muta count really doesn't have that much substance to it. Not only that, the upgrades aren't nearly as good.
Yeah, it does manage to latch onto a couple of Mutalisks, and I guess the Mutalisks are now starting to sense how trapped they are. They're forced to engage the Hydras, but where are the Infestors to drop the Fungals, actually? Slivko only has 1 Infestor, and he hasn't been able to keep his Hydra count very high because they keep getting picked off here and there, but the Spore Crawler and the Queens are doing a good job zoning for now. And this is good micro from Miniraser, trying to really optimize how well he can make his Mutas pack into a tight ball, but a huge Fungal forcing the confrontation. A lot of these Mutas will end up dropping, and Miniraser, ooh, with the last few Mutas dropping, could be the last few ounces of hope he has.
Roaches will again counterattack, and this is definitely a position where Miniraser has no response to this. I mean, the third is going to go down, the natural is most likely going to go down. And when you have a main that's only mining off of 2 mineral patches, no bueno. No bueno whatsoever.
Yep, you can just see that Slivko just checking all the bases and pretty much nothing can do, but Miniraser, I mean, his Mutalisk were great initially, but great job by Slivko to really whittle down and keep himself safe. Honestly, the one thing that I've been impressed the most is that Slivko is able to really protect his drone counts. Even though, yeah, he lost a few here and there, he's able to really preserve it so that way he can constantly keep a cycle of Hydras coming out and just really make it hard for the Mules to ever do anything. At this point, this is just a straggling force of mutilating, 18 Lings, 6 Mutalisks, and I mean, at this point, there's more Overlords than the rest of the units. GG gets called out, and Slivko now wins 2 in a row, making him eligible for the fan voting.
Woo woo! Congratulations to Slivko, of course, taking his second win, as you just said. Yeah, I mean, Zergling, Baneling, Muta, you also need Baneling speed. That's pretty important as well. But when it comes down to it, you need to be attacking or defending on creep, or you need something fancy like burrowed Banelings. You need to be attacking in at least a 180 to 270 degree angle. You can't be coming in from one area because all it takes is a couple of fungals, and you're dead. You're absolutely dead, Frodan.
Yep. I feel, yeah, you just at those moments, it's very edge of the knife kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Any moment you can, it's like a tightrope situation. You you lean one side or the other way a little bit too much, you get caught, and that's it. That's kind of like the nature. That's why some people really like Mutas, actually, because it's high risk, high reward, and in this case, it was punished. The high risk was no reward.
No reward. No reward. Anyway, we're gonna go into our 6th game. It is going to be Bishu. Bishu. Can't wait for that. Of course, the Protoss Phenom that took out Glan in the NASL Season 4 qualifiers #1. We're going to get there after this commercial break, so don't go anywhere. Bishu versus Slivko after this.